Trump says President Zelensky is not ready for a peace deal with Russia after 3 days of talks between US and Ukrainian delegations in Florida.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he had a substantive call with US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said that Israel and Hamas are set to begin the second phase of their ceasefire once the last hostages' remains are returned.
Euronews caught up with Margarita Shinas and Luigi Di Maio to talk global politics at day 2 of the Doha Forum in Qatar. After 3 days of talks between US and Ukrainian delegations in Florida, Donald Trump says Zelensky is not ready for a peace deal with Russia. Speaking to reporters at the 2025 Kennedy Center honors, he accused the Ukrainian leader of holding up the talks from moving forward.
But he hasn't. Russia's fine with it. Russia, I guess, would rather have the whole country when you think of it. But Russia is, I believe, fine with it.
However, Russian President Vladimir Putin hasn't publicly expressed approval for the White House plan. Trump was the first president to hold the Kennedy Center honors, a role normally assumed by journalists and presenters. He says he did so, quote, at the request of a certain television network. During his speech, he praised Sylvester Stallone, Kiss, and Gloria Gaynor, among others.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said he had a substantive call with US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. The call followed after talks between US officials and a Ukrainian delegation that aimed to bring an end to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Zelensky added that Ukraine would continue to keep working in good faith with the US and that the next steps and formats for the talks have been agreed on. Speaking in the US, the country's special envoy for Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, said a deal to end the war in Ukraine was very close. He added that 2 key remaining talking points still under negotiation were that on the topic of territory, especially the Donbas region, and the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Zelensky is expected to speak with European allies next and is meeting with leaders from France, Germany, and the UK in London on Monday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that Israel and Hamas are set to begin the second phase of their ceasefire shortly, once the last hostages' remains are returned. Netanyahu made the comment during German Chancellor Friedrich Merz's first visit to Israel as head of state. In a press conference, the two expressed clear differences when speaking on the topic of Gaza and a two-state solution, yet both were also keen to emphasize a commitment to maintaining a close bilateral relationship. Merz stood up for Israel's existence and security, but simultaneously said it must be held accountable under international law.
Im Verlaufe dieses langen Krieges hat uns aber das Vorgehen der israelischen Regierung auch in ein gewisses Dilemma geführt. Deutschland muss für Israels Sicherheit einstehen. Und Deutschland muss für Menschenwürde und Recht einstehen, die den Kern unserer Verfassung.
Merz said the second phase of the peace process must begin soon and said a Palestinian state as part of a two-state solution is the way forward towards lasting peace. Netanyahu contradicted the chancellor on the point of the two-state solution, a possibility he has repeatedly rejected in the past. Prior to the meeting, Merz visited the Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum in Jerusalem, where he laid a wreath in memory of those killed during the Holocaust.
Euronews sat with the former Vice President of the European Commission, Margarita Shinas, for an exclusive interview in Doha, where he provided insight as to what the renewed peace efforts might yield in embattled Ukraine.
Europe has to continue, as it did from day one of the invasion of Russia to Ukraine, continue to seek a positive contribution that would eventually lead to a peaceful settlement. We have done a lot for Ukraine. From day one, we have been funding Ukraine with 2 billion euros per month. So in a way, Ukraine keeps fighting because Europe keeps paying. We have bought armaments for Ukraine. We have stood by the country in very difficult diplomatic moments, and will continue to do that. We hope that as a result of the ongoing talks and with the increasing involvement of the US government, we will be able soon to come to an agreement. But if this moment comes, this would be only the beginning of the next stage. It will not be the end settlement. It will be the beginning that would eventually lead to a final settlement.
Euronews also caught up with Luigi Di Maio, the EU's special envoy to the Gulf, where he shared with us how the region could advance the bloc's competitiveness in an increasingly unstable geopolitical climate.
I think that the more we will realize that we have to continue to work with our historical allies, but we have to create new partnerships. The more we realize, we accept that, the more we implement in facts, not only in words, this new idea of projection, having at mutual level new partners, the more we'll be closer and the more we will face together not only the multilateral political challenges, not only the security challenges, but even the economy, the prosperity for our people. Together, these two markets, the GCC market and the European market, together they represent the 20%, almost the 20% of the global economy, almost the 18% of the global trade. So we have a huge potential, so it means even that we can reach a huge leverage together, a joint leverage.
The two European Union politicians were in the Qatari capital to attend the second day of the Doha Forum.
The Interior Minister of the West African nation of Benin has said that a military coup, initially announced on Sunday morning by a group of soldiers on state TV as successful, was foiled on the same day.
Au petit matin de ce dimanche 7 décembre 2025, un groupuscule de soldats a engagé une mutinerie dans le but de déstabiliser l'État et ses institutions. Face à cette situation, les forces armées béninoises et leur hiérarchie, fidèles à leur serment, sont restées républicaines.
The group, which called itself the Military Committee for Refoundation, appointed Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigre as president of the Military Committee. Benin's president, Patrice Talon, has been in power since 2016 and is due to step down next April after the presidential election. The attempt is the latest in a series of military takeovers to rock West Africa over the last few weeks.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth defended the strikes on alleged drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean and emphasized that President Donald Trump can take military action as he sees fit to defend the nation.
Here again, we've been focused, and here we've been clear. If you're working for a designated terrorist organization and you bring drugs to this country in a boat, we will find you and we will sink you. Let there be no doubt about it. President Trump can and will take decisive military action as he sees fit.
Hegseth has faced growing scrutiny over an attack in September in which U.S. forces launched a follow-up strike that killed survivors of an initial hit on a suspected drug vessel. The incident raised concerns over the legality and oversight of the operation. Hegseth says he had not been present when the second strike was ordered, but defended the decision, saying he would have made the same call himself. Each year, millions of people are estimated to suffer from seasonal depression, also known as seasonal affective disorder. Countries in Northern Europe and above the Arctic Circle are no stranger to long, dark days. Experts in Norway, Sweden, and Finland say the limited sunlight has a major impact on mood and can lead to low energy, increased appetite, and feelings of sadness.
Because light has an immediate effect on your well-being to increase serotonin in your brain, which is a very important chemical to promote also, that you feel good, that you have you're in a good mood. So all these things you can use. So it's not like it's a fate and an annual or a seasonal fate, and you cannot do anything about it.
A light therapy device or dawn simulator are common tools used to mimic light and boost serotonin in the brain. Experts also warn for social isolation and urge people not to withdraw socially during winter time. They also recommend regular exercise to fight the winter blues.
The 26th edition of France's Festival of Lights opened Friday in Lyon. During the 4-day event, the facades of the city's buildings, churches, fountains, cathedrals, and main squares serve as giant canvases for various artists. A new addition this year, a drone show above the city's biggest park. The tradition dates all the way back to 1852, when residents placed candles in colored glasses on their windowsills to celebrate the installation of a statue of the Virgin Mary on the Fourvière Hill. Entire districts of the city were lit up, transforming the facades of buildings in a show of lights. The tradition has become an annual event, with an organized festival hosted for the 26th time this year. The Festival of Lights takes place over 4 evenings until the 8th of December.